Hey, Chirstoph here, and thanks so much for selecting me to do this reading for you. In this video, you've selected a 30 card, 6-question reading, but you did not provide me with 6 questions. Instead, what you would like me to do is have a look at the next 4 months. That's what we're going to be doing in this reading. Now, do note that I always recommend to ask questions, okay? Usually more general readings provide more general answers. In order for us to look at the next 4 months, this is actually very similar to another type of reading that I provide here on Fiverr. That's the month ahead reading. So do note in the future, if you just like to look ahead a couple of months or a month, 6 month, or a year ahead, that's what my month ahead reading is for. That's how I'm going to be doing this reading in a really similar style to the month ahead reading. But I did notice down below you're asking a question, and of course this is kind of one of the main questions you'd like answered, is what's going to be happening with the relocation to Scotland that you are considering. The way that this reading is going to work, I'm going to take that question and I'm going to separate it from the 4 month ahead reading. In fact, I'm going to read that separately, and here's how it's going to work. I'm going to pull 5 cards for each month starting from October, so that adds up to 20 cards, us looking at 4 months. Okay, that leaves us with 10 cards, and I'm going to pull those remaining 10 cards, and we're going to take a look at this relocation that you're considering to Scotland. Let's start with that. Here we go. Of course, my name is Chirstoph. I consider myself a guide, and my goal here is to read these cards as honestly and as accurately as I can in order to give you the information that you need to make those decisions necessary to move your life forward in a positive direction. So we're going to start with the main question here, and then we're going to take a look at 4 months after. But let's look at this relocation you're considering. Of course, what you've written here, you say you're considering relocating to Scotland. This would be a massive move as you live in southern England. Let's see what the cards have to say for this. I'm going to pull 10 cards just for this one question, and then we're going to pull the remaining 40 cards and have a look at 4 months from now. But let's pull these 10 cards. Here we go. Of course, the way that this is going to work, I'm going to flip each card over one at a time. With each card I flip over, I'm going to give you a brief description of each individual card. And then once all 10 cards are flipped over, I'll tell you what those cards are saying together. So let's see what the cards have to say here. But what we're going to do something a little bit different. We're not going to look at 4 months with this reading. What we're going to do, actually, I was focusing on this as I was pulling the cards, but we're looking at the near future here. Okay, for me, the near future usually represents anywhere from like 3 to 6 months. So this could be all the way 6 months in the future that we're looking at here in these cards. Of course, for the remaining part of this reading, we'll be looking at 4 months. But let's see within the next 6 months or so what's going to be happening in regards to this relocation to Scotland that you're considering. Let's take a look at the first card. The first card that we have here is the Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups is a really great card. It represents a cup that is overflowing. You can see water streams coming down. Water usually represents powerful, strong emotions. Now, this tarot card deck is different than the one I normally use. This is called the Colorful Neon Tarot. And because it's colorful and neon, it's taken the White Dove of Peace up here at the top, and they made it purple. So it's the Purple Dove of Peace in this one. So essentially what I'm seeing here is cup overflowing basically talks about a lot of opportunity, as well as peace, related to relocating to Scotland. So that's a great place to start. Let's keep going. The next card that we have is Justice. Justice represents karma in action. If you're putting good energy in, good karma into this, good energy is going to come back. And it talks about justice. So it basically represents that the best scenario is going to happen, whatever you feel is the direction that you want to move into. That's the just direction that's going to come through. The next card that we have here is the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords represents jumping into action, making something happen. So every card so far is positive. Let's keep going. The next card that we have here is the Ten of Swords. The Ten of Swords here represents backstabbing and betrayal. We'll come back to this. That's not really great energy. So far, 3 amazing cards. 1, ooh, not so great, but let's keep going. The next card that we have here is the Death card. Bom, bom, bom. This actually makes a lot of sense here. So the Death card has actually appeared kind of towards the middle of this reading now. Luckily, we pulled 10 cards and not 5, because if we only pulled 5 cards and got the Death card, this would represent something not so great. But essentially, what we're seeing here from the first 5 cards, we're seeing the positive momentum that you need to make this happen. But there's going to be some things that you're going to feel bad about, okay? And that's what the Ten of Swords here essentially represents. It represents not sleepless nights and sadness, but it represents kind of backstabbing and betrayal. So this essentially represents not that anybody's going to be backstabbing and betraying you, and not that you are going to backstab and betray anyone else, but the energy of this feels like you're really going to miss Southern England. There's things from Southern England that once you make the move to Scotland, you're going to really, really miss. So in a sense here, this card doesn't represent anybody betraying you, but it represents you feeling not so great about some of the things that you left behind, some of the things that are different in Scotland, okay? And then we have the Death card. And in this case, the Death card is actually really great, okay? The Death card has appeared in the middle of this reading, or pretty close to the middle of this reading. Essentially, the Death card represents clearing the way of what is no longer needed in order to bring a bright future forward. And that bright future here is it going to focus? Yeah. That bright future here is represented by that sunrise in the distance here. So this represents kind of all of the changes that you're going to be making in order to make this positive move forward. Now, getting the backstabbing and betraying card and the Death card together basically represents that maybe this process is going to end up being a little harder on you than you expected. I don't think the process of moving is going to be overly difficult. I feel like emotionally, although I feel like you genuinely want to move to Scotland, there's going to be more that you're going to miss, but there's changes on the way, okay? Let's take a look at the last 5 cards here. We have the Ten of Wands. The Ten of Wands represents carrying a heavy load. It represents a little bit of burden. So we get these 3 cards here in order. Basically says, yeah, you know, that it's going to be more of an emotional burden, which is interesting. The next card that we have here is the Page of Cups. The Page of Cups here represents a delightful surprise. So when all the moving is done, delightful surprises on the way for you in Scotland. New opportunities for warm, loving, supportive energy in Scotland. This is like big friendship energy coming through here. The next card that we have here is the Nine of Swords, which represents sleepless nights and sadness. And that's that energy, the things that you're missing. Okay, you're really going to miss some things. And this is doubled down here. Okay, both of these here represent things that you have to let go of, things that you're going to miss about Southern England. Okay. And the last card that we have here, which could set the tone for this entire question. Yeah, we got the Star card. The Star card represents so many great opportunities for you there in Scotland. We got love energy and overflowing water. Flowing water in a card, you know, we got it twice here. In fact, these are the 2 main cards that have flowing water, and flowing water represents positive emotions, positive opportunity, good energy. So, I definitely think that you're going to be relocating to Scotland. Now, this did not specifically say when, but it definitely feels like it's something that you're planning to do really soon. The first 3 cards here are absolutely amazing, talking about how great the energy here is for this. It talks about moving to Scotland is going to be the right choice and decision, you know, with the Justice card, and we have the Knight of Swords. Basically, you're going to do whatever you need to do to make this happen. We do have 3 negative cards here. Well, 2 negative cards and 1, you know, transition card. But the 10 of Swords here essentially represents that there's things that you're going to miss. You're going to feel, you're not regretful of the things that you miss, but you're gonna feel the pain of certain things not being the same in Scotland. Of course, the death card represents you making the changes that you need to in order to make this happen, and putting in the work. And the interesting part is the moving process. Yes, people say that moving is one of the most stressful things in one's life, but I feel like it's the emotional aspect of moving that might be the bigger issue for you. We got the Page of Cups here, which represents delightful surprises. So it says when you move to Scotland, delightful surprises on the way. You're going to be making good friends and connections, but yes, still missing those certain things that have left behind in the Star, which represents so many opportunities there. I think that you're going to be making this move to Scotland work. I think it's a positive thing for you to do. I feel like there's a lot of really great energy there. But the big thing that comes through this reading is there's also a lot of things that you're going to miss about Southern England. So I do see a lot of positive prosperity, all of this good stuff here when it comes to relocating to England. But I mean, relocating to Scotland. But yeah, you're going to be missing quite a bit of things. I do think that you're going to get over this, that kind of the sad energy, the energy of missing things. I think that you're going to get over that. And I do feel that there's tremendous amount of opportunity and so much good energy in Scotland for you when you do make that move. You're always going to miss, okay? You're always going to miss Southern England. You're always going to miss some of the connections and friends there. Of course, you can always stay in contact with people from there. Of course, you can't maybe visit them as often or as easily, but regardless to that, I think that your future is in Scotland, and I see a lot of fantastic energy there. Okay. All right. Let's put these cards away. We're going to be I'll be pulling a different set of cards here for the month ahead reading. Now I'm doing the equivalent of, in this reading, I'm doing the equivalent of a 4-month ahead reading. I'm going to be doing this in the style of my regular month ahead reading gig. Of course, if you want to take a look a month ahead, I got that month ahead reading gig. You can order that next time if you have a similar question. We're going to be, we've pulled 10 cards so far. We got 20 cards remaining, and we're going to be using the remaining cards for this. Now, I'm going to start in October, okay? It's only October 12th, and I'm still going to pull 5 cards for October. We're going to pull 5 cards for each of these, each of these months, starting with October here, okay? Let's get started. Here we go. Of course, I'm going to read these cards as honestly and as accurately as I can to give you the information that you need to make those decisions necessary to move your life forward in a positive direction. Of course, doing a reading in the style of my month ahead reading, it is more of a general reading. We're looking at what energy comes throughout the month. Here we go. We're pulling 5 cards per month here. Of course, the first 5 cards here for October. The first 5 cards for October. We're going to shuffle between months here. All right, the next 5 cards here is going to be for November. Okay. And the next 5 cards here are going to be for December. And the last 5 cards are going to be for January 2025. Very cool. Let's take a look at what energy here comes through. Now, this is more of a general reading. We're going to be taking a look at the energy that you're going to be kind of facing each month. Now, do note as we go through, we go from the beginning of the month to the end of each month. Okay, now October starts from the 12th and it goes to the 31st. But you can generally see what is going to be happening in what order. Okay. Let's start first with October. Okay, we're going from October. Well, it is October 12th right now. Let's start it from, actually, it starts on the 13th. So from the 13th of October all the way to the 31st of October. Let's see what the cards have to say here. Here we go. The first card that we have here is the Justice card. Justice card essentially represents good energy coming your way here as we move forward into October. Justice usually represents things working out in the direction that you want it to. Justice usually represents karma in action. So if you've been putting good energy into things, you're going to be getting that good energy back here within the next little while. The next card that we have here is the Six of Wands. The Six of Wands represents celebration and public reward. So it really seems like, October here, especially moving forward from the 13th forward, lots of really positive energy for you here in the remaining days of October. The next card that we have here is the feeling of loss. So it's interesting. We're kind of seeing a very similar kind of reflection on the reading that we just did here. The Five of Cups essentially represents the feeling of loss, but not all is lost. Even though 3 cups have fallen over, 2 cups are still standing. I'll talk more about this once we flip over the rest of the cards. We have the Seven of Swords. The Seven of Swords here represents deception and trickery. And the last card that we have here, oh boy, this is the Four of Cups, which represents a new opportunity presenting itself to you. Here's the interesting part. We saw that there would be a feeling of loss, that there would be some conflict in this sort of thing, emotionally in regards to your move to Scotland. We're seeing very similar energies here. We got the Justice card. Remember, we got the Justice card before. The Justice card basically represents that, yeah, things are going to be working out in the best way. We got celebration and public reward, which basically represents that you're making good choices and decisions. Good things are on the way. But you're going to feel a loss, okay? Before the end of October, you're going to feel like you're potentially losing something. And this is just all related to your thoughts about moving to Scotland and being worried about kind of what you're leaving behind. Now, what we saw here in the previous part of this reading, when we were looking at Scotland, it looked fantastic, okay? But what's going to end up happening is you're going to be worrying and you're going to be kind of tricking yourself. It's almost like you're still struggling with whether or not, okay, you really want to do this move to Scotland, and that's deception and trickery. Do note that a lot of times fears and worries will make us concerned more than we have to about various things, but this essentially represents your worry, your deception and trickery. But as we see, by the end of October, an opportunity is going to be presenting itself to you, and that's going to be really positive. Remaining days of October, good energy is going to be happening here, but you're going to be worried about a potential loss, okay, by moving. You're going to be kind of tricking yourself into thinking that more in the negative side of things rather than the positive. But do note that by the end of October here, a really fantastic opportunity is going to present itself to you, and it might make all of the kind of negative feelings and emotions that you might have fade away. Okay, let's take a look at November 2024. Let's see, of course, we're going from the beginning of November to the end of November. The first card that we have here is the Four of Wands. The Four of Wands here represents family celebration. So it represents kind of really good energy coming in, family energy at the beginning of November here. The next card that we have here is the, interesting, King of Swords. The King of Swords represents that you'll be making logical decisions as you move forward into November. The next card that we have here is the Two of Pentacles. The Two of Pentacles essentially represents juggling multiple responsibility. It represents, organizing things. It basically represents complications that you're dealing with. This may be, planning that you're doing. The next card that we have here is the Lover's card. This talks about really fantastic energy in your life here in November, really like loving, supportive energy. And the last card, Ace of Swords. So there's a big decision, it looks like, that you're going to be making here in November. Perhaps this is related to the move. And it's kind of like a good decision for you and family. Like that's the energy that's coming through. You're going to be making the logical choice and decision, which means you may leave some of your emotions out of the decision making. And it looks like you're going to start like a planning phase, sorting things out. From what we're seeing here, whatever decision that's being made here in November is going to be really good for family, really good for, kind of relationship connections and things like this in your life. And it ends with the Ace of Swords, which represents by the end of November, you're going to have the power and the strength to move forward with something. This all could be related to this move. Let's take a look at December 2024. December 2024, we start with the Empress. The Empress card essentially represents warm, loving, and supportive energy. So you're having really good, positive, love, supportive energy coming through here at the beginning of December. As we move forward into December, Queen of Swords. Okay, we got a matching set here. We got the King of Swords and the Queen of Swords. It represents you're going to be making more logical-based decisions rather than emotional decisions. The next card that we have here is Temperance. Temperance represents restoring balance. That's amazing. The next card that we have here is the King of Cups, which represents maintaining balance and continuing to maintain balance, which is amazing. And the last card that we have here is the High Priestess, which represents getting in touch with feelings and emotions on the inside. November, it looked like you were kind of dealing with some things. November, it looked like that you were making some really big decisions that affected people and will affect people in a positive way. But the interesting thing as we move into December here, you get that supportive energy. You're continuing to make those logical decisions and balance is restored. In fact, you're going to maintain balance. And at the same time, as you get to the end of December, it's almost like you're going to be reflecting on things. The High Priestess essentially represents getting in touch with feelings and emotions on the inside. So whatever looks like is being decided in November here, it looks like a lot of those things are going to be figured out and at balance by December. Let's take a look at January 2025 here. Of course, we're going from January 1st to January 31st. Wow. Okay. Getting through a difficult time. Now, we saw this card also in the previous part of this reading where you were asking about, we were looking at the potentially moving to Scotland. This represents getting through all the difficulties, which is really great. It represents kind of getting out of a negative situation, moving more into a positive situation. Let's see what happens as we move forward further into January. We got the Emperor and the Empress. Did we get the Empress as well too? Yes, we did. That's amazing. Another matching set, the Emperor and the Empress. This represents kind of being in control, having power. Now, the Empress is the feminine version of the Emperor, but it also represents warm, loving, and supportive energy. You don't get warm, loving, and supportive energy from the Emperor, but this is basically talking about gaining control, having control, which is amazing for January. Let's keep going here. We have the World. The World here represents numerous options being available to you. Now, I do remember in the previous part of this reading, we got the Seven of Cups, and the Seven of Cups in the World, very similar cards when it comes to achievement, when it talks to many possibilities. So I feel like something really great's happening here in January. You're through the difficult time, you're in control, and there's so many new opportunities for you moving forward. We have Strength, which represents things become a lot stronger for you and in your life in January. And the last card that we have here is the Page of Wands. The Page of Wands essentially represents, going on an adventure or a journey. It represents life becoming an adventure. Amazing. There is very little, very few negative cards in here. In fact, the only thing that I'm seeing that's maybe a little bit negative here is a feeling of loss, is kind of maybe you deceiving yourself a little bit here. But beyond that, everything here is extremely positive. As far as the next 4 months are concerned, amazing things are going to be happening. Everything looks extremely positive. And the fact that you gain balance and control, you get through a difficult situation in order to have control, have many options, being in a stronger position and having a lot more to the adventure, is absolutely amazing. That's all I'm seeing here in this reading for you. Thanks so much for selecting me to do this for you. Do note about these month ahead readings. These are basically showing you what's the most likely outcome based on current energy, but do note you have free will. If there's something that you don't like in here, you still have the ability to change it, okay? But I don't think you need to be changing anything. Everything looks fantastic. That's it for this one. Thanks so much, and know that I'm here for you on Fiverr anytime.